we're expecting right now. We didn't want to, have a family being raised in India for these reasons. There's a lot of, issues with clean space, with green space, with education as well. It's mostly private education that's sort of accessible there. So things like that, it's not how I grew up as a Canadian, and we kind of wanted something different for our family.
But from when I made my investment to 1 year from now, I've given my biometrics, and from what I understand now, the residency card itself has become quicker, should be coming in 3 to 6 months, which was much longer first.
Thank you so much to coming to our office to make this interview, Shadan and Kahini. Right, I know.
Thanks for having us.
Can you tell us a little bit more about why you're opting for this Portugal Golden Visa, and why, what research did you do before, processing, deciding?
So I think there are two angles to this. One is we are moving or planning to have a future outside of India because we respect the green space, clean air, opportunities, but in a different way, not purely economical opportunities. So we feel that with our background and current position, we are able to leverage that into a better lifestyle, a cleaner lifestyle, more outdoorsy. It gave us flexibility in which, though we want to start the process, we cannot commit the 180 or 190 days just right off the foot, because it gives me time to, and gives her time to transition that life while the process is going on, from your life in India to a life in Portugal or some other place in Europe if the time comes.
Yeah, so when we were researching this, one thing that we were quite clear on was we're expecting right now, we didn't want to, have a family being raised in India for these reasons. There's a lot of, issues with clean space, with green space, with education as well. It's mostly private education that's sort of accessible there. So things like that, it's not how I grew up as a Canadian, and we kind of wanted something different for our family. When I was researching the Golden Visa programs, because that's primarily what we were looking at, and within the EU, what stood out in Portugal is exactly this. I think it's the only one we found that does not require you to have that residency commitment, so we could sort of thoughtfully wrap things up in India and our commitments over there.
And that says something about the process, because even though we had not been here, we found that at least the process-wise, this would be the best possible direction to move into Europe and go through the proper processes, have the proper finances set up over here, so the transition becomes easier because Portugal's system allows you to do that.
The option of buying real estate
Yes.
is no longer there
Right.
under the Golden Visa now, but the option to invest in the market was something that we thought was a really good opportunity.
Yes, it was very forward thinking for a country. They acted on what was spoiling all the other countries, the negatives of this much money coming into real estate. And I think it's very smart for a country to say that, yes, real estate is not a good option. Put it in our capital markets, help our country grow, and your country
Yes.
eventually. So
Right,
Yeah.
and in different industry as well.
Correct.
Some of
Sure.
them, are in hospitality, schools, renewable energy, agriculture. It spans so many different industries.
yeah,
that can help.
I myself have done it in the school, in hospitality, and in the market. All three spread across because we were allowed to do that. So
that's
I
really-
think it's forward thinking, so it's good.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's really mutually beneficial because even for us, we get the benefits of the growth that the country experiences after a few years. I think that makes us feel more connected as well to, we are literally invested in the growth of
Yes, in
Portugal,
the
right?
Yeah, in the
So that's great, and then I think it also helps us to know that we're not, being responsible for driving up these housing prices that are affecting locals. So it's a really good system.
Great. And in the process, how did you find our company, and how did you decide to use us?
Okay, so that's a very interesting story because
Yeah.
it has an interesting end to it. So we did a lot of research online. We looked at different companies, what people are saying about them, reviewing. getting through all of that, I felt that once I reached out, your communication was very open, very transparent, very informed. So it made me feel comfortable. Now, I have a friend, Samron, who went through this process, though I had not reached out to him before doing all the research. And we just happened to have the conversation one day, and I, I told him that, hey, I have found somebody, I think that's who I want to go with. And he's like, and he was, wait, I know somebody, and the process was just great with her, so you should really connect with her. And then I said, okay, it's a her. I mean, the communication I've had with different companies, there was only one her. So is the name Susanna? And he's like, yeah, Susanna. So I independently reached the conclusion through our communication and my research, but I was happy that somebody else just had that name as the first recommendation.
Yeah.
And everything has been true. Communication has been prompt, advice has been perfect. There have been legal changes that are going back and forth with even the government. So even assurance in that has been really great. So really appreciate that.
Do you have any tips for like people who are about to go through the same process to like anything to avoid or?
Well, I think you have to really look into each program and choose the one that's right for your needs, as well as the country that you think is a good fit culturally and for what you want. You know, when we were looking into it, there are of course a lot of different Golden Visa programs in the first place. And, you know, I think some of them also have their controversies around them. There are laws that change. I know it's happened even in Portugal. So I think, you know, that kind of flexibility is something you maybe need to be prepared for. Like in this case, it's the citizenship that's under debate now, right? So that's something where we don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, I think you have to kind of think of it as an immigrant experience even through this avenue and understand that these things can be in flux.
Right.
Yeah.
Programs might tighten or change, and
Yeah.
even the citizenship law might change as well along the way. But the main, I think, idea is to start as soon as possible and to remain the residency for the future applicability for the citizenship.
Sure. Yeah, and that, I mean, from my side, because I've thought about the Golden Visa for a very long time, so my tips would be start the process soon. Because even when I was considering this earlier, it was cheaper, and I'm not just talking about Portugal, I'd considered a lot of places. So if you feel that the move is for you, you start, because nothing just becomes, things get tighter, it gets more expensive. So if you're in a position to act on it, it's better to act on it. Also, just when Golden Visa is applicable to a lot of countries, so try to make sure that you are going through the proper channels with proper banking laws, because that makes a big difference once you're set up and for your future. A lot of countries give you fast citizenship and visas where banking laws are not strong and it's frowned upon. Don't fall in those pitfalls, because it comes with its own cons when you are associated that way. So yeah, go for something, a place you'd like to live, good banking laws, and a good base where you can shoot up from where you have starting your new phase in life. So
For
yeah, I
sure.
think that's a good tip.
Yeah. And on that, I think also sometimes people tend to think of it as just the cost of the visa, when, you know, all these things to go through the proper channels, to have lawyers, to have experts, those fees add up as well, and I think people should be cognizant of that. And, you know, same with cost of living in a country like Portugal that's really shot up because of these programs. So you don't know in 3, 4, 5 years when you're maybe thinking of moving what that's going to look like. So yeah, just to have those buffers in mind.
Right. So what is your impression of Portugal? Do
I
you
mean-
like it? Like, which is your favorite like city or region? I know you've been traveling from the north to the south.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we thus far have been to Porto and Jerez, which is a national park in the north, like in a mountain area. Then to Faro, which is right south in the Algarve. It's a coastal town. And now to Lisbon as our final stop. And honestly, we've really loved the experience.
But apart from that, it's beautiful. The food's great. The people are nice and accommodating.
Very welcoming. And one great thing that I found throughout, and we've obviously mostly been interacting with people in the hospitality and tourism industries, but there's a lot of knowledge about the Portuguese culture, a lot of pride, and people are really happy to share it with you. So we love that. And the level of English proficiency was surprising to us as people who don't speak Portuguese. We haven't really had any issues with that. Yeah.
Right. And I know that Shadan is here for your biometric appointment, which
Yes.
was done like last week.
Yes.
So your whole process was smooth?
Otavio was present before I had showed up. He explained the process is going to take about 15 minutes or half an hour. He spoke to the person who was going to take my biometrics before I got to the table. He cleared everything out. All I had to do is I wasn't asked any question except for my name and gave my biometric, and it was done.
Yeah.
So
It was quite a quick process for the biometric and the application. When did you submit your application? I think it was last year.
that is a
2025.
question that I'll have to think about, but it has been very quick compared to what the process used to be. So I've heard what I'd read about. Yes, I think it's been about. I had made my investments. I remember April 1st of last year because that's how my financial year is,
Okay.
and we are now in.
I mean,
In
just
April.
about 1 year, more than 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So investment was made. I'm not sure when the full application was completed, but but from when I made my investment to 1 year from now, I've given my biometrics, and from what I understand now, the residency card itself has become quicker. Should be coming in 3 to 6 months, which was much longer first. So if that comes in, then it's going to be a really quick process to my residency card.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about the bureaucracy in Portugal being difficult. I mean, maybe it's also because we come from India.
Yeah,
where
we're
it's-
okay with that.
But we thus far haven't really felt that to be the case. It's been pretty smooth overall.